When the river water filled my throat, I thought I was dead. The icy river water kept hitting my chest. I desperately grabbed onto a piece of driftwood that was floating by, my fingers turning white from the force. The last thing I remember was a new robotic arm being tested in a laboratory. I am a mechanical engineer, and I deal with metals, gears, and precision structures all year round. That night, in order to meet the project deadline, I stayed alone in the lab to test the equipment. A blinding light flashed. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in this unfamiliar river. Even more bizarrely, all my memories of this body have vanished. Name, identity, family, past. There was nothing there. The only thing left was an antique jade ornament hanging around her neck. The jade ornament is dark blue-green and engraved with complex patterns, resembling some kind of ancient mechanical structure or a rune I have never seen before. I tried to study it, but I found nothing. On the 7th day after I came into this world, I finally realized something. This is not the world I am familiar with. People use magic, ride magical beasts, and there are flying carriages in the city, as well as people who can unleash fire. But I must survive first. The Capital Talent Testing Hall is a place where ordinary people can change their destiny. On that day, I stood in the crowd and watched as a young man tested positive for fire affinity and was immediately recruited by a nobleman. On the other side, a young man was taken away by the Legion because of his outstanding warrior aptitude. I walked up to the testing station. The middle-aged man in charge of the testing looked up at me. Name. I remained silent for a moment. Lin Mo. This is the new name I gave myself. Since the past is gone, let's start anew. The man nodded. Put your hand on it, and check the soldier's qualifications first. I did as he said. The crystal pillar lit up. A moment later, the recorder next to him spoke. Warrior aptitude. 92. People around were whispering among themselves. 92 is already very good. Unfortunately, it's still a little short of the Imperial Legion's standards. The inspection supervisor glanced at me. Young man, you have a good physical foundation, but unfortunately you haven't reached the level required for soldier training. I withdrew my hand. No disappointment. The greatest skill of a mechanical engineer is dealing with data. If it doesn't meet the requirements, it simply doesn't meet them. Continue testing the magic power, the supervisor said casually. I placed my hand on the crystal again. The next moment, the entire hall fell silent. The crystal burst forth with dazzling light. The recorder's voice suddenly became urgent. Magic power. 238. The surrounding area exploded instantly. How is that possible? To possess such magic at such a young age? Quickly confirm elemental affinity. The supervisor in charge of testing also stood up. His expression became serious for the first time. 5 rays of light emerged from the crystal. Fire, water, wind, light, dark. All 5 elements appear simultaneously. The recorder stared at the instrument, his hands trembling slightly. Fire elemental affinity 80. 1. Water element affinity 79. 9. Wind element affinity 80. 2. Light element affinity 79. 7. Dark element affinity 80. 3. The hall was completely silent. The supervisor took a deep breath. Equilibrium system element affinity. The 5 systems remained stable and balanced. The way he looked at me changed. Young man, do you know what this means? I shook my head. The supervisor said slowly. It means you are qualified to become a puppeteer. Puppet master? One of the rarest professions in mainland China. He pointed to the information displayed on the wall in the hall. Puppeteers use beast crystals and ancient vine resin to create puppet seeds, and control elemental puppets through mental connection. Flame golems can cast fire magic. Water golems can heal and defend, and wind golems are responsible for reconnaissance. But this profession also has huge drawbacks. The puppet needs a long preparation time before it can be activated. Once the enemy gets close, the puppeteer is very vulnerable. As I looked at those documents, another idea popped into my mind. Long preparation time? Is the structure complex? Mind control? Isn't this just another form of precision manufacturing? I have designed large-scale mechanical equipment. Anything can be optimized by breaking down its structure. The supervisor continued. The Tanya Empire currently has only 2 registered puppeteers, and both of them are stationed on the border for extended periods. Your appearance is extremely rare. Afterwards, I completed the registration with the Mage Guild. Because of my balanced talent across the 5 elements, I received special treatment from the Empire. a monthly allowance of 92 gold coins, a 2-story monk's villa located next to Moon Shadow Lake. There is also access to the Mage Tower Library. When I received the key, I was even a little dazed. 7 days ago, I was just an ordinary engineer in the lab. 7 days later, I became a puppeteer of great interest to the Empire. After arriving in the capital, I didn't rush to enjoy life. I will first observe the world. On the streets, light elemental mages are treating ordinary people's wounds for free. A wind elemental mage controls a floating platform to transport goods. Water magic maintains the operation of the city's waterways. The magic here is not the mysterious power of legend. It has become an integral part of life. This made me even more certain. If magic could be studied systematically, therefore, puppet creation can also be modified. A few days later, I met Bashak, the president of the Mage Guild. This is a level 9 archmage. The old man looked at my test results and smiled. Young man, you know that many people can never reach such heights in their entire lives. And you are already standing there. I am not arrogant, President. I want to learn how to make puppets. Bashak was somewhat surprised. Are you sure? Sure. Why? I looked out the window. Because I want to know. Just how far can the power of this world go? Bashak remained silent for a moment. Then he laughed. Good. What puppeteers need is this spirit of exploration. Entering the library of the Mage Tower felt like returning to familiar territory. I opened one ancient book after another. Puppet core, element circuits, spiritual connection, material fusion. Many people study magic itself. My research focuses on structure. I began to redesign the puppet making process, reduce energy consumption, optimize magic transfer, adjust the element circuit. 3 days later, I bought the first batch of materials. First tier watertight beast crystal, ancient vine resin. Traditionally, creating a puppet seed requires a complex ritual. However, I changed a few key steps. When the last bit of magic was injected, the seed in the palm of my hand slowly cracked open. A small, transparent wolf appeared before me. The body is composed of water. His eyes flashed with blue light. It was a success. My first puppet, Water Wolf. I took it to Moonshadow Lake to test it. A connection of thoughts is established. The water wolf leaped into the lake in an instant. The movements were fluid and without any hesitation. But just as I was about to record the data, an idea suddenly popped into my head. It seems it can hold on for a long time. It far exceeds what is recorded in ancient books. Ordinary puppets can only last for a few hours at most. But my water wolf's magic cycle didn't decrease significantly. As I looked at it, a guess arose in my mind. This may not be within my design capabilities. Rather, it's the hidden talent of this body. This secret must be kept hidden. If the Empire knew that my puppet could exist for far longer than the normal time, freedom will not await me. Instead, it's endless research and forced conscription. I did not continue testing. Instead, they found the Wind Mage, Korn. He is a top player among the younger generation of the Mage Tower. He looked on with curiosity when he heard that I was going to test the strength of the puppet. Linemo, are you sure a first-tier watertight puppet can withstand an attack? Give it a try. Cohen had a black iron cabinet brought in. A huge iron cabinet fell from a great height. Boom! The water wolf was pressed into the ground. The dust settled. The water wolf stood up again. The body developed cracks, but recovered quickly. Cohen was stunned. It repairs itself? I said calmly. It might be due to the unique nature of the material fusion process. He stared at me for a long time. In the end, no further questions were asked. The second test. The steel blade pierced through the water wolf's body. The water flowed back together in the next moment. The puppet stood up again. Cohen took a deep breath. Linemo, what you create is completely different from traditional puppets. I smiled. Just some improvements. After returning to the villa, I continued my experiments. The water-based golem was successfully created. Next, I started trying out second-tier fire-type beast crystals. Once the flame-shaped humanoid puppet is formed, it can not only fight, but also control temperature, for heating in winter, outdoor cooking. It can even assist in alchemy. But looking at the materials that had been used up, I finally realized the problem. Research requires funding. My allowance is far from enough. The next day, I entered the Imperial Capital Mercenary Hall. This is the fastest place to obtain resources. As soon as I entered the hall, all the major mercenary groups noticed me. Someone invited me to join. Someone offered a high price for a long-term partnership. I refused them all. What I need is freedom. Just then, a cool, clear voice came from the side. You're that newly registered puppeteer? I turned my head. A red-haired woman was standing there. She was dressed in light armor, with a long sword hanging at her waist. The mercenary badge behind her indicated that she was a level 5 martial artist. Lucy, leader of the Rose mercenary group. She reached out her hand. I've heard your puppet is quite special. I did not deny it. Do you need to cooperate? Lucy smiled. We've taken on a high-value mission, the Ball Mountains, hunting the ice demon giant. We'll split the profits from the materials 50/50ths. I looked at her. What do I need? Second-tier all-elemental beast crystal. Quantity? Lucy reached out her hand. 20 pieces. I agreed, because I know my era has only just begun. The day after Lucy and I agreed to cooperate, the Rose mercenary group delivered the mission information to me. The Bar Mountains, Ice Demon Giant. This is a high-level quest that has been hanging in the mercenary hall for a long time. The mission objective is an adult ice monster, with a strength reaching the peak of level 4, which has been entrenched deep in the mountains for many years. Its beast crystals can be used as high-level ice magic materials. Its blood can enhance ice attribute equipment, and its bones can be used to make defensive puppets. Therefore, even though the danger is extremely high, there are still many mercenary groups keeping an eye on it. In just 6 months, 3 mercenary teams have gone missing after entering the mountains. After I finished reading the information, I put the scroll down. Are you sure you're only hunting the ice giant? Lucy sat opposite her, arms crossed. What's the meaning? Incomplete information. I pointed to one of the lines. It says here that a large number of low-level magical beasts have migrated near the area where the ice demon giant is active. Lucy's expression changed slightly. You suspect there are other dangers? It's not a doubt. I looked at the map. It definitely exists. Monsters have a strong sense of territory, and high-level monsters will not allow a large number of low-level monsters to approach their territory for a long time, unless a greater threat emerges nearby. The room fell silent. The old archer Harlan, standing nearby, stroked his beard. Young man, you've only just become a puppeteer, yet you can see all this? I smiled. It's just a habit of analyzing data. Lucy stared at me for a few seconds. He then said, It seems we made the right choice in partnering with them this time. She pushed a spatial bag in front of me. As agreed, 28 second-tier beast crystals. I opened it to take a look. Inside, crystal nuclei of various colors were neatly arranged. Fire element, water system, wind system, earth element. There were even 2 light crystals and 2 dark crystals. These are all scarce materials. Why are you willing to pay in advance? I asked. Lucy leaned back in her chair. Because we lack people who can change the course of the war. In the past, we risked our lives on mercenary missions. If your puppet is really as rumored, the success rate of this mission will increase significantly. I didn't say anything, because I've been hiding part of my true strength. My puppet's duration far exceeds the normal standard. I won't tell anyone this. After returning to the mage's residence, I began to create a new puppet. 28 beast crystals would be a huge fortune for others. For me, it's an opportunity to improve the system. I am not pursuing quantity. Instead, it is designed according to different combat environments. Earth element, rock rhinoceros guardian, responsible for frontal defense. Wind system, wind bird, responsible for investigation and information transmission. Dark element, shadow skeleton, responsible for infiltrating and weakening the enemy. Light system, holy light spirit bird, responsible for treatment. Water system, water shield golem, responsible for protecting the team. In just a few days, the underground training ground was filled with more than a dozen puppet seeds. I hadn't heard of the name Della at the time, so my life remained simple. Research, manufacture, test. Occasionally, I would go to Moon Shadow Lake to observe the puppets' movements. On the day of departure, the Rose mercenary group consisted of more than 40 people. Besides Lucy, there's also the old archer Harlan, and a man who had once joined the Knights, Tang Shi. He was a large, imposing man who wielded a heavy sword. The first time we met, he patted me on the shoulder. I heard that the puppets you create can protect people? I nodded. Can. He smiled. From now on, my life is in your hands. I shook my head. Leave it to yourself. Puppets are just tools. Tang Shi was stunned for a moment. Then he burst into laughter. You puppeteer are quite interesting. The team sets off to speed up their journey. The mercenary group rented a giant wind turtle that had evolved to the 3rd stage. This monster isn't fast, but its endurance is amazing. The back can be used to build a transportation platform. Along the way, everyone took turns resting. When attacked by low-level magical beasts, Lucy prepares to intervene. However, I released the wind sparrow ahead of time. It flew into the sky. The entire surrounding situation was transmitted back to my consciousness. There are 6 gray wolves 200 meters to the left. There are 3 venomous snakes in the woods on the right. This was the first time the mercenaries had witnessed such an ability. Harlan looked at the wind bird in the sky. Previously, reconnaissance required 3 people. But now a single puppet can solve the problem. Lucy smiled. That's the value. We ventured deep into the Ball Mountains. The closer you get to the core area, the more monsters you'll encounter. But we didn't encounter any real danger, because all the dangers were detected by the wind sparrow in advance. When they set up camp for the night, everyone finally relaxed. Beside the campfire, Lucy handed me a glass of wine. How was your first mercenary mission? I took the wine glass. It's different from designing machinery. Every step here could be fatal. Lucy remained silent. That's how the mercenary world is. Many people think we are free. Actually, it's just that without the protection of nobles, they can only risk their lives for money. I looked at her. Why did you become the leader of the mercenary group? She looked down at the flames. When I was a child, my village was destroyed by monsters. Later someone told me that the weak can only wait for others to protect them. That's why I want to become stronger. This is the first time I've heard her talk about her past. She usually appears assertive. They never back down in the face of danger. But at that moment, I saw the weariness she was hiding. I offered no comfort. He simply said, "From now on, you won't have to bear this alone." Lucy looked up at me. The firelight reflected in her eyes. She smiled. "Mr. Puppet Master, you're quite the smooth talker." After nightfall, everyone went to rest. I released the wind sparrow to continue scouting. Consciousness connects to the sky. Under the moonlight, the Ball Mountains were unusually quiet. Until the early hours of the morning, a sudden, intense fluctuation emanated from the wind sparrow. I suddenly opened my eyes. In the distant mountains and forests, a large number of dark figures are moving, more and more densely packed. The quantity is impossible to estimate. I controlled the wind sparrow to rise. The next second, my expression changed. Between the valleys, tens of thousands of saber-toothed beasts are moving. They are enormous. Its fangs are like knives. They are surrounding our camp. More importantly, in the center of the herd, a being several times larger than an ordinary beast slowly emerged. Level 4 Beastmaster, Saber-toothed Beast King. I got up immediately. "Everyone, wake up." The sound echoed throughout the camp. The mercenaries quickly awoke. Lucy drew her sword and rushed out of the tent. "What happened?" I looked into the distance. Beast-tied. Her expression changed instantly. "Scale?" I said in a deep voice. "Tens of thousands." The air seemed to freeze. Harlan gripped the bough tightly. "Tens of thousands of saber-toothed beasts." Tangshi's face was grim. "We have no escape route." Lucy quickly gave the order. "Pack your gear and evacuate immediately." But it was too late. In the distant mountains and forests, the first wave of ferocious beasts charged out. The ground began to shake. Countless trees fell. The herd of beasts approached like a black torrent. I watched the beast-tide draw ever closer. He quickly calculated in his mind. Standard method. Must die. Escape. It's impossible for it to outspeed Warcraft. The only way. Frontal defense. I took out the puppet seed from my storage ring. Lucy watched my movements. "Linemo, what do you want to do?" I held the earth-type puppet seed. "Give us a chance to survive." The next second, a burst of magical power. The earth began to tremble. A massive rock and soil structure rises from underground. A 7-meter-high circular city wall. It rose up from the ground in an instant. All the mercenaries stared wide-eyed. I stood behind the city wall. They watched as the dark, swarming beast tides surged forward. Prepare for battle. This time, let them see. The Puppet Master's true fighting style. The entire valley trembled the moment the beast horde crashed into the earthen city walls. Boom! The first wave of saber-toothed beasts slammed into the earthen wall, their sharp fangs piercing the rock, and the immense force caused cracks to appear in the wall. Behind the city wall, everyone in the Rose mercenary group wore a solemn expression. They had experienced countless battles, but had never seen anything like this. 1 or 2 monsters are not scary, but right now, there are tens of thousands of them. Any individual's strength seems insignificant in the face of such a beast tide. Tangshi gripped his heavy sword tightly, watching the horde of beasts keep crashing into each other. Linemo, how long can this wall hold? I stared at the magical flow on the earthen wall, based on the current impact. Half an hour. Harlan frowned. What about half an hour later? I looked into the distance. Then let's switch to the next layer of defense. Lucy stood beside me. You have other plans? I did not answer. A spiritual connection is established. The next moment, the earth began to tremble. Outside the city wall, dozens of thick rock pillars broke through the ground. Rock and soil golem. Officially launched. They do not perform complex actions. There is only one goal: to block the herd of beasts. A saber-toothed beast charged up the rock pillar. The rock rhinoceros guardian raised its massive stone fist. Bang! The beast was smashed away. The surrounding mercenaries were all stunned. A young mercenary couldn't help but say, "Is this still a puppet?" In their minds, the puppeteers should hide in the back. They relied on several large puppets to slowly attack. But now, my puppets are fighting on the front lines. I myself stood in the center of the battlefield, continuously adjust tactics. The gap on the left side. Rock Rhinoceros Guardian fills the gap. Wind Sparrow scouts the location of the Beast King. Shadow Skeleton. Prepare. Orders were issued one after another. All the puppets resembled a well-trained army. Lucy watched this scene unfold. His gaze grew increasingly complex. She finally understood. Why do I dare to face a horde of tens of thousands of beasts? I didn't rely on luck. Instead, they prepared a complete combat system in advance. In the sky, the windbird flies swiftly. The idea of shared vision came to my mind. The entire battlefield structure was crystal clear. Ordinary mages need to cast detection spells, but I don't need it. The puppet is my eye. Soon, I've discovered the problem. The true core of the beast tide. It was no ordinary beast. Instead, it was the Beast King atop a distant mountain. As long as it exists, the beast horde will continue to attack. It must be resolved. I looked at Lucy. I need to deal with the Beast King. Lucy immediately shook her head. No, that place is too far from here. And it's protected by a large number of wild beasts. Going there would be suicide. I pointed to the sky. I won't go there. Lucy was taken aback. The next moment, deep in the valley, a wind sparrow puppet soared into the sky. Then, a shadow golem seed fell to the ground. Black mist spread. The shadow skeleton crawled out from underground. They did not charge towards the herd. Instead, it moves quickly in the shadows. Target: Beast King. The shadow skeleton is not very powerful, but their greatest function is, it is a weakening. As long as we get close to the target, dark energy will continuously erode it. Mountain peaks in the distance. The saber-toothed Beast King seemed to sense the danger. It let out a roar. A large number of the ferocious beasts began to change direction. It has been discovered, Harlan said. I nodded. Therefore, we need to put more pressure on it. The words had barely left his mouth. The water shield puppet unfolds. A transparent water curtain covers the city wall. The force of the beast's impact was gradually weakened. Then, the flame golem is activated. Scorching flames shot out from the city walls. The herd of beasts was thrown into chaos instantly. The Rose mercenary group finally found an opportunity. Attack! Lucy gave the order. All the mercenaries began to fight back. Bow and arrow, fighting spirit, magic, all were released in one go. The beast tide paused for the first time. But at that moment, a loud bang came from afar. The saber-toothed Beast King charged down the hillside. It is over 10 meters tall. Each step lands, the ground will crack from the shock. Ordinary puppets are no match for them. It smashed a huge hole in the rock and earth city wall with a single claw. The Beastmaster charged into the defensive line. All the mercenaries' expressions changed. Level 4 Beastmaster. They finally made their move. Tangshi roared angrily. Everyone, stand back. He charged forward, carrying his heavy sword. Battle aura covered the sword blade. He slashed fiercely at the Beast King. Clang! A metallic clanging sound rang out. Tangshi was sent flying backwards. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Lucy rushed forward and stood in front of her. Her long sword pierced the Beast King's shoulder, but it can only leave shallow wounds. The Beast King growled. A huge claw slammed down on her. I instantly activated the Holy Light Sparrow. A beam of white light fell. Lucy's wounds healed quickly. She turned to look at me. You also have healing puppets? Now is not the time to chat. I control all the puppets. The final encirclement and slaughter began. The rock rhinoceros guardian provides frontal support. Centipedes emerge from underground. Its body, several tens of meters long, wrapped around the Beast King's legs. The shadow skeleton continuously unleashes corrosive power. Holy Light Sparrow continuously restores the team's status. The Wind Sparrow seeks an attack position. 5 puppets with different attributes operate simultaneously. This is the first time I've truly validated my combat system. It's not that a single puppet is powerful. Instead, multiple puppets form a complete cycle. Defense, control, weaken, treat, output. No single step is missing. They will all fail. The saber-toothed Beast King struggled frantically. The centipede's body kept breaking apart, one after another. The rock rhinoceros guardians were smashed to pieces. However, the shadow corruption had already penetrated deep into its body. Its power began to decline. I seized the opportunity. The flaming humanoid puppet gathered all its magic power. A compressed flame blasted towards the Beast King's chest. Boom! The massive explosion created a shockwave. The Beast King staggered backward. Lucy seized the opportunity. He rushed forward. The longsword pierced the Beast King's eye. The Beast King let out a deafening roar. The final blow. I control a giant fist made of rock and earth. It rose from underground. It slammed down hard. Boom! The saber-toothed Beast King fell to the ground. The entire beast tide fell silent for a moment. Then, the beasts, now out of their leader's control, began to scatter. No one spoke. They simply watched as the Beast King fell. They survived. They really survived. Lucy sat on the ground, panting heavily. Lin-Mo, what kind of monster are you? I looked at the wrecked puppets scattered all over the ground. He smiled. Just someone who enjoys researching and manufacturing. Nobody believed it, but no one pressed for further details. Because everyone knows it. After today, a new name will emerge in the mercenary circle of the Tanya Empire. Puppeteer Lin-Mo. After the battle, everyone began to deal with the Beast King's corpse. The value of a level 4 Beast King is far greater than that of a regular quest. Beast crystal, essence and blood, fur, skeleton. Each one is a precious material. Harlan held the testing equipment, his voice trembling with excitement. This time, we've struck it rich. Lucy looked at me. As agreed, the profits will be split 50/50ths. I shook my head. The beast tide is not my achievement alone. Without you holding them back, my puppets wouldn't have been able to complete the final attack. Lucy looked at me. After a long while, he said, Lin-Mo, you are different from other puppeteers. What's different? She smiled. Others create puppets to ensure their own safety. You created the puppets so that everyone could survive. I did not answer. He simply looked at the distant mountains. Because I know. This mission is now complete. My life is about to undergo a real change. The day the Beast King's corpse was transported back to the capital, the entire mercenary hall was in an uproar. After news of the level 4 saber-toothed Beast King spread, the once deserted Rose mercenary group's base was flooded with visitors overnight. Someone wants to buy materials for the Beast King. Someone wants to invite Lucy to join a large mercenary alliance. Some people also wanted to inquire about the mysterious puppeteer who could control multiple puppets. Lucy refused them all. She knew who this honor truly belonged to. On the day of the mission handover, the head of the mercenary hall personally received us. The beast crystal was identified as being of far superior quality to that of an ordinary level 4 magical beast. Beast blood can be used to refine enhancement potions. Animal bones can be used to craft high-level equipment. Ultimately, the guild paid out 200 gold coins as a reward for the quest. As previously agreed, I and the Rose mercenary group each got half, 23,600 gold coins. When the gold coins, filling several boxes, were brought to me, I felt the weight of the world's wealth for the first time. Previously in the lab, I calculated component costs and project budgets. Now, I'm calculating how to keep my puppet system developing. Money is not the goal, but without money, many ideas remain just blueprints. After leaving the mercenary hall, I did not immediately return to the mage's quarters. Instead, they went to Treasure Street. This is the most bustling trading area in the capital. Magical materials, rare minerals, alchemical potions, all kinds of precious goods are available. I need someone who can help me with the trivialities of life and has sufficient judgment. Because I will be spending a lot of time researching puppets going forward. No one manages the villa. Many things can affect the experiment. I stopped in front of a high-class waiter's shop. It's not just ordinary servants that are for sale here. There were also educated butlers, servants, and guards. The shop owner's expression changed immediately when he saw the Beast King's essence blood I took out. Sir, is this the essence blood of a level 4 Beast King? I nodded. I need a reliable attendant, the boss quickly said. This quality of material is more than enough to get an excellent butler. I shook my head. I don't need a butler. I want a smart person. The boss pondered for a moment. Then he introduced me to a girl. She looks to be only about 16 years old. Long black hair. Her clothing was simple. It was very quiet when I stood there. Her name is Della, the owner explained. I learned accounting, medicinal herb identification, and basic writing skills from a young age. It's just that I don't have a noble background, so I haven't had a suitable place to go. Della looked at me. His eyes did not show the fear that an ordinary orphan slave would have when facing a nobleman. It's mostly observation. I asked her, if you were entrusted with managing a mage's residence, what would you do? She thought for a while. First, understand the owner's needs. Reorganize the income and expenses. Finally, establish a stable procurement channel. I continued to ask, is someone deliberately raising the price? She replied, record all the quotes from the merchants. Find alternative channels. Long-term cooperation is more important than temporary transactions. I laughed. This is exactly the person I need. I used most of a bottle of Beast King's essence blood to complete the transaction. From that day onwards, Della became my assistant. After returning to the villa, she did not rush to show off. Instead, they spent 3 days renovating the entire villa. Material classification, experimental area division, living area arrangement. She even compiled my experimental records into a booklet according to time. This is the first time I've discovered it. Having a reliable assistant can improve efficiency so much. One evening, I'm testing a new puppet in the underground training grounds. Della suddenly knocked on the door. Mr. Lin Mo? There are people outside. I stopped what I was doing. Who is it? She shook her head. He looks like an ordinary businessman. But they observed the location of the villa for too long. I looked at her. How did you find out? Della said. A true businessman looks at the product. They are looking at the environment. This answer made me wary. The next day, I took Della out shopping. Along the way, I could clearly feel that someone was following me. 3 people. Dispersion distance. Keep observing. This is not ordinary tailing. I didn't alert them. Instead, it sends the wind sparrow puppet into the air. Shared aerial views. Soon, I discovered even more people. At least 3 routes. They hit it very well, but they overlooked one thing. Sky. It is always the best vantage point. I whispered to Della. Keep going. Don't look back. She nodded gently. Clear. We deliberately drove into less populated areas. Subsequently, I contacted the Rose mercenary group in advance. When Lucy arrived, her expression turned cold as she looked around. Is someone watching you? I nodded. And they are well trained. We did not take direct action. Instead, they create opportunities for those people to expose themselves. Final. 3 spies were surrounded by a mercenary group. But the next moment, one of them suddenly laughed. No need for interrogation. You will get nothing. The words fell. Black patterns appeared on the bodies of all 3 simultaneously. Della's expression changed instantly. Self-destruct curse. Boom! 3 bursts of energy erupted. Wait for the smoke to dissipate. Only some remnants remained at the scene. No identity. There is no evidence. No clues. Lucy clenched her fists. Who exactly are these people? I remained silent for a moment. Someone is investigating me. Moreover, the forces behind it are very powerful. That day, I went to the membership department of the Dharma Masters Association to report the situation. The person in charge of receiving us was the deputy manager. Gray. He looks to be in his 40s. His attitude was mild. After listening to my description, I immediately took notes. Rest assured, Lord Lin Mo. The guild will investigate the identities of these people. I nodded. No abnormalities were found, but I don't know. Right after I left, Gray activated a hidden communication crystal. On the other side, an unfamiliar voice rang out. Is it confirmed? Gray said in a low voice. Confirm. The target is that newly emerged balanced puppet master. His growth rate is faster than expected. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the crystal. Then the order came. Continue to observe. This person must be in our hands. The capital city remains prosperous. Moon Shadow Lake remains calm. But I don't know. A conspiracy targeting the entire Tanya Empire. It has already begun quietly. And me. He has become a key figure in this storm. After leaving the membership department, Gray did not return to his residence. He walked around 3 streets and entered an inconspicuous tavern. This place serves ordinary drinks during the day, but at night it becomes a secret meeting point for certain people. Push open the back door. In the dimly lit room, a man dressed in a black robe sat there. The man tapped his fingers lightly on the table. "How is the situation?" Gray said in a low voice. "The target has been identified. He does indeed possess a balanced talent across all 5 elements. Moreover, the puppet's abilities far exceed those of ordinary puppets." The man in the black robe's eyes flickered slightly. To what extent exactly? Gray was silent for a moment. It is impossible to determine at this time, but his water-based golems have undergone strength tests. The puppets he creates can recover from attacks that ordinary puppets cannot withstand. The man in the black robe slowly raised his head. "Self-repair? Possible." The atmosphere in the room became heavy. After a long while, the man in black robes said, "Send the message back to the Blue-Tide Empire. This person is more valuable than our original target." Gray nodded. "Clear." On the other side, "I didn't know about these things." After returning to the monk's residence, I began to reorganize my plans. Now we have the funds, possess the materials. It has experimental facilities. The next step is to upgrade the puppet system. I don't want to create a bunch of puppets that can only fight. Truly excellent engineering design needs to solve practical problems. So I started trying to develop new types. The first type, engineering puppet, used for mining ore, transporting materials, to construct buildings. The second type, reconnaissance puppet, used for long-distance observation, to transmit information. The third type, combat puppet, responsible for protection. Different uses require different structures. This is similar to designing mechanical equipment. There is no such thing as a magic bullet. Only tools suitable for the specific scenario. Della organizes the experimental materials every day. Once, looking at the table full of design drafts, she couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Lin-Mo, why are the puppets you made completely different from those in the book?" I put down my pen. "Because the methods in the book are experiences summarized by others. Experience can be learned, but we cannot restrict thinking." Della nodded, seemingly understanding. "So you're recreating?" I laughed. "Just trying." She looked at the blueprints. A hint of respect appeared in his eyes. A few days later, I received an invitation from the Mage Tower. "Chairman Basak wants to see me." When I returned to the Mage Tower, the old man was reading a book by the window. "Lin-Mo, Beijing has been quite lively lately." I sat down. "What happened?" Basak did not answer directly. Instead, "The question is, what do you think is most important for a country?" I thought for a moment. "People. There are still resources." Basak smiled. "Your idea is very practical." He looked out the window. "Recently, there has been an increase in frontier warcraft activity. Relations between countries are becoming increasingly tense. Tanya needs more strong individuals." I understand what he means. "The guild leader wants me to join the Empire?" Basak did not deny it. "Your abilities are too special. If war breaks out in the future, puppeteers like you will change the battlefield." I remained silent for a moment. He then said, "I am willing to help the Empire, but I don't belong to any faction." Basak looked at me. "Why?" I replied. "Creating puppets requires free thinking. If I become someone's tool, my research will lose its meaning." The old man remained silent for a long time. He laughed in the end. "You are different from those puppeteers of the past. They seek to control puppets. You pursue creation." After leaving the Mage Tower, I became more vigilant. There is no evidence for Gray's actions, but the appearance of those spies was by no means accidental. I have the Wind Sparrow puppet patrolling the area around the villa around the clock. Meanwhile, some of the combat puppets were hidden in spatial rings. The spatial ring is a precious item I recently obtained from the Mage Tower. Its interior space is enormous. It has enough to store a large number of puppet seeds. This means, in the actual battle later, I don't need to manufacture on site. Instead, it can be summoned instantly. This is the true fighting style of a puppeteer. One night, I'm testing a new fire golem. Sudden. The Wind Sparrow sensed something unusual. Someone is approaching. 3 people. Conceal your presence. The operation plan was very professional. I turned off the lights in the experimental area. Take out a shadow puppet seed. Outside the villa, the dark figure slowly approached. They thought there was no defense here, but they didn't know. From the moment they enter the area, I have seen everything they did. The first man in black had just climbed over the wall. Black chains suddenly appeared beneath my feet. The power of shadow instantly bound his body. The other two reacted quickly, unleashed the attack. But the next second, rock golems rise from the ground. Block all magic. Their expressions changed. Puppet Master! I walked out of the room. Who are you? The three people did not answer. One of them gritted his teeth. The black lines reappear. Same as before. Self-destruction curse. I immediately controlled the water shield golem to form a protective barrier. Boom! An explosion was heard. Wait for the smoke to dissipate. The enemy left no clues again. But this time, I've confirmed something. These people are from the same organization. Moreover, they are very afraid of having their identities exposed. I looked at the remaining traces on the ground. For the first time, I felt a sense of crisis. Someone wants my puppetry technology. Some people want to get rid of me before I grow up. They just didn't know it. From the moment I came into this world, I've already gotten used to one thing: facing unknown problems, disassembly, analyze, then solve it. In the darkness of night, a faint light shimmered on Moon's Shadow Lake. I stood by the window of the villa, looking at the lights of the capital city in the distance. I am gradually learning the rules of this world, and those enemies lurking in the darkness, and it is gradually approaching. When news of the Mage Guild's 290th anniversary celebration spread throughout the Tanya Empire, the capital was more bustling than ever before. Buddhist monks from all over the country rushed to the scene. Noble families prepare gifts in advance. Large chambers of commerce are vying to enter the Moon's Shadow Lake area. Everyone believed that this was a grand event representing the glory of the Tanya Empire. Only I sensed something was amiss, because those eyes hidden in the shadows have not disappeared. On the contrary, there are more and more of them. 5 days before the celebration, an elderly stranger came to my villa. He wore a plain robe, without any aristocratic adornments. But the moment I entered the courtyard, I noticed something was different. His steps were very light. It's so light that ordinary people can hardly hear it. But his breathing rhythm was very stable. This is a characteristic possessed only by those who have cultivated themselves for a long time. Mr. Lin Mo? The old man smiled. I am OS. I was slightly taken aback. The only space mage on the mainland. OS. Even someone like me, who has only recently arrived in this other world, has heard of this name. Spatial magic is extremely rare. Those who can master spatial power are few and far between on the entire continent. I invited him into the hall. OSS didn't beat around the bush. He simply took out a ring. I've heard that you possess the essence blood of a level 4 beast king. I looked at him. You want to exchange? That's right. OSS placed the ring on the table. Extra large storage ring. 2 short distance teleportation scrolls. 34 third-order light and dark crystal cores. And another 280,000 gold coins. I looked at these things. Quickly calculate the value in your mind. Space ring, transport scroll, light and dark crystal nuclei. These are the resources I need most right now, especially light and dark materials. This allows me to continue refining the advanced puppet. Why me? I asked. OS smiled. Because your puppet is very interesting. I have studied spatial magic for many years. I've discovered a problem. Any force needs a suitable vehicle, and you are creating a new vehicle. I did not deny it. Final. The transaction is complete. After receiving the spatial ring, I tested it immediately. Its internal space is dozens of times larger than that of ordinary storage equipment. In the future, a large number of puppet seeds can be prepared in advance. This means my fighting style will change. No more on-site manufacturing is needed. Instead, it's about planning ahead. That evening, Bingler has arrived. He is one of the biggest businessmen in the capital, controls multiple large chambers of commerce. He showed a strong willingness to cooperate from the very first meeting. Mr. Lin Mo, if your puppet technology were to enter the civilian market, it would change many industries. I poured him a cup of tea. What do you want to collaborate on? Bindler laughed. Materials supply, commercial promotion, and long-term trade. His conditions were very straightforward. I am very satisfied. Businessmen and researchers collaborate. Most importantly, the interests must be clearly defined. However, in the end, Bingler suddenly paused. Actually, I have another personal request. I looked at him. What? He was a little embarrassed. I have a daughter. She admires your abilities. I see. He wanted to arrange a marriage. I shook my head. Mr. Bingler, I'm not thinking about marriage right now. Bindler was not angry. Instead, he laughed. I guessed it. People who truly want to create things are indeed hard to be distracted by other things. The cooperation continues. This result gave me a better impression of him. At least he knows how to behave appropriately. The day before the celebration, I discovered the anomaly again. Entrance to the Mage Guild. Gray appeared. However, there is a problem with his identity. He was not wearing the badge of the head of the membership department. However, they went directly into the core area, and he avoided all acquaintances along the way. I stood in the crowd and observed. For the first time, I was certain in my heart. This person has a secret. Night. I called Della into the room. Tomorrow is the celebration. Activate all defenses in the villa. She nodded. What needs to be prepared in advance? I took out my spatial ring. Get all these puppets organized. Classified according to hazard level. Della looked at the large number of puppet seeds inside. For the first time, a look of shock appeared on his face. You knew all along that danger would occur? I don't know. I shook my head. It's just a habit to prepare in advance. She remained silent for a moment. Did you live like this before? I was stunned for a moment. He then said, in my previous job, I had to deal with many unknown problems. Preparing in advance is a way to protect yourself. The next day, Moon Shadow Lake. The celebration officially began. Members of the Imperial family, the upper levels of the Mage Tower, major noble families. Everyone was present, because of my identity as a puppeteer. I also received an invitation. In the center of the venue, Bassick announced it himself. Starting today, the Tanya Empire will add a new honorary baron. Linemo applause erupted from all around. I stood there, but there wasn't much joy, because from the moment you enter the venue, my Wind Sparrow puppet noticed something was wrong. A caravan responsible for transporting alcoholic beverages. Too many. The route is too fixed. And the weight of some of the boxes. It doesn't match its appearance at all. I approached Bassick. He said in a low voice. President, security needs to be strengthened today. Bassick looked at me. What happened? I've noticed something unusual. He was just about to ask. A sound suddenly came from afar. Everyone, before the celebration begins, please enjoy this moment. The person speaking. It was Gray. I looked at him. My unease grew stronger. Just then, several monks walked by carrying wine. I smelled a peculiar odor. Suppressing demon powder. My expression changed instantly. Someone made a move ahead of time. I turned around immediately. Find Bingler. Leave here now. Bingler was stunned. Why? Believe me. My voice was very serious. Take your family and leave Moon Shadow Lake immediately. Bingler looked at me for a few seconds. Ultimately, I chose to believe. He didn't ask any further questions. Arrange for personnel to evacuate immediately. And shortly after they left, in the sky, suddenly, a huge roar of a beast rang out. Dozens of griffins tore through the clouds, diving down from high altitude. The venue instantly descended into chaos. All the mages attempted to cast spells, but the next second, their expressions all changed. Magic. It disappeared. Gray stood outside the crowd. He showed his first real smile. Welcome to the death celebration. The sky in the distance. A cold voice came from behind. The Tanya Empire. It's over. I looked up. I saw a man in black robes standing on a griffin. Level 9 Archmage. Brick. A real war. Here we go. The moment Brick appeared, the entire venue fell into dead silence. Many people are still unaware of what has happened. They simply discovered that they could not access the magic within their bodies. The low-level magic that he could usually cast casually was now completely ineffective. The flames went out. The wind blades dissipated. The defensive shield cannot be formed. For a mage, losing magic is like losing your most important weapon. In the sky, dozens of griffins swooped down at high speed, the Blue Tide Empire soldiers on their backs, wielding long spears, launched an attack from the air. The first wave of attacks caused immense chaos instantly. The noble guards drew their swords to defend themselves. Ordinary guests scattered in all directions. But those who truly possessed strength were all suppressed by the demon suppression powder at this moment. Bassick's face darkened. He tried to forcefully break through the drug's effects. But the magic within my body seemed to be locked away. Gray, he finally understood. For 17 years, this person has been hiding within the Mage Guild. Gray stood on the periphery of the crowd. He remained completely calm in the face of Bassick's angry gaze. President, you have nurtured me for 17 years. Pity. You would never guess who I am truly loyal to. Basik's eyes were cold. Blue-Tide Empire. Gray smiled. Tanya is too powerful. Therefore, someone must weaken it. After saying that, he turned and left. Just then, Brick in the sky raised his hand. Terrifying magic began to gather. The ambient temperature dropped rapidly. The water vapor in the air condensed instantly. I stood in the crowd. His expression grew increasingly grim. Level 9 Archmage. Forbidden techniques. If you let him finish it, the entire area will become a land of death. I did not hesitate. A ring that connects you to a spiritual space. A large number of puppet seeds appeared instantly. First floor. Wind-driven dome. Start up. The violent airflow formed a huge barrier. The second layer. Water system protection. Start up. A thick curtain of water covered the perimeter. The third layer. Flame shield. Start up. The blazing flames resisted the onslaught of the icy cold. 3 layers of defense are deployed simultaneously. Everyone around me was looking at me. They couldn't understand. Why can a puppeteer still fight when all the mages have lost their powers? I pulled 6 young light elemental apprentices to the defense center. One of the girls looked at me in surprise. You're not poisoned? I shook my head. You've won. It's just to prepare the antidote in advance. In fact, before entering the celebration, I already suspected there was something wrong with the drinks. Therefore, I took a potion in advance that could purify abnormal magic power. Although it cannot completely resist the demon suppression powder, but it's enough to allow me to retain some of my mobility. Brick's voice came from the sky. Sealed by ice for 10,000 years. The 4 words fell. The world changed color in an instant. A terrifying chill descended from the sky. Within a 2-kilometer radius, everything started to freeze. Trees, lake water, architecture, even the air. It was completely covered by ice. My 3-layered defenses began to bear immense pressure. The outermost layer of fire shield consumed rapidly. Frost continued to erode the ice. The second layer of water shield. It gradually solidifies. At last, the wind-driven dome became the sole support. I gritted my teeth. Continuously input mental energy. This is not a normal attack. This is a forbidden spell cast by a level 9 mage. Even if my puppets are far beyond the average level, it is also impossible to completely resist. Boom! The fire shield shattered. The water shield froze. A massive ice sheet began to cover the area. Just when I felt the pressure was reaching its limit, the ground suddenly shook. Rock golems burst forth from underground. The massive rock arches its arms, pushing the ice apart. They forcibly tore open a passage. 6 light element apprentices were rescued. However, my body was also affected by the cold. The flow of magic is getting slower and slower. Just then, a warm light appeared. Eat it. A voice came. I turned my head. I saw the light elemental girl I had saved earlier. She held a golden fruit in her hand. This is the holy light honey fruit. It can remove the suppression of magic power. I did not hesitate. Take it directly. The next second, a warm feeling flowed through my entire body. The suppressed magic power was quickly restored. The girl looked at me. Why did you save us? I looked at the shattered defenses. Because you are right behind me. She was stunned. He then nodded slightly. After regaining strength, I reconnected all the puppets. The battlefield situation began to change. Although most of the strong were still affected, but the survivors gradually organized themselves. After using the antidote, Basha regained some of his strength. He looked at me. His eyes held a complex expression. Linemo, if it weren't for you today, the consequences are unimaginable. I did not answer, because in the sky, there is another enemy. Palin, a level 9 martial arts master. He has already charged toward Basik. The two engaged in a fierce battle. Sword energy and magical power clashed continuously. On the other side, Brick's consumption was enormous. After the forbidden technique is released, his breathing weakened noticeably. I control the wind sparrow to observe. The number of griffins has been found to be declining. This indicates that the enemy's surprise attack was not entirely successful. Their original planet renders all top-tier mages incapable of combat simultaneously, then quickly eliminate key figures in the Empire. But they didn't take that into account. I was an unexpected factor. A puppeteer who is not bound by tradition. In the center of the battlefield, I release a new puppet. Shadow Skeleton. Rock Rhinoceros Guardian. Flame-shaped humanoid. Join the battle. There are no magic restrictions. These puppets became the enemy's biggest problem. A blue-tide soldier charged toward a young mage. The next second, Rock Rhinoceros Guardians blocked the way. The giant fist fell. It knocks the opponent away. On the other side, the Holy Light Sparrow continuously heals the wounded. More and more people are resuming their activities. Brick stood in the sky. His face looked pale. Who exactly are you? I looked up at him. A puppeteer. He sneered. Your value surpasses that of the entire celebration. I did not answer. Because I know. Starting today, the Blue Tide Empire will no longer treat me as an ordinary genius. Instead, it was treated as a goal that had to be solved. Far away, the battle between Basic and Palin has finally ended. Palin, a level 9 martial arts master, was severely injured and forced to retreat. He glanced at the battlefield. The plan has failed. Prepare to evacuate immediately. Brick didn't linger either. The Griffin force quickly retreated. The ground was left covered in frost, and the casualties are incalculable. Moon Shadow Lake, a celebration that once represented glory. It turned into ruins. I stood in the crowd, looking at those frozen buildings. This was the first time I had felt this way. The true cruelty of this world. There is magic here. They are wealthy. It has power. But there was also war. And me. It's no longer possible to remain uninvolved. 3 days after the Moon Shadow Lake tragedy, the capital city still had not returned to its usual tranquility. The number of patrol riders on the streets has increased several times over. The Mage Guild has closed some areas. Everyone entering the core urban area must undergo strict checks. The impact of that celebration was more severe than anyone had anticipated. A large number of high-level mages perished. Many noble families have lost key members. The 290th anniversary celebration of the Mage Guild became the most tragic day in the history of the Tanya Empire. And for the first time, I truly stood in the sight of the center of imperial power. Basic came to me personally. His face showed signs of fatigue. Linemo, do you know what would have happened that day if your puppet hadn't been there? I didn't say anything, because I know. All top-tier mages were suppressed. If you haven't prepared in advance, that attack could very well have directly destroyed the Tanya Empire's magic system. Basic looked at me. You saved 6 light element apprentices. It protected many people. It even changed the course of the war. I shook my head. I just did what I could. The old man sighed. You are still underestimating your influence. Then, he told me the results of the investigation. Gray, Deputy Director of the Membership Department of the Dharma Masters Association. Real identity verification. Blue Tide Empire spy. Incubation period. 17 years. Over 17 years. He possessed extensive information on Imperial mages. Access to countless important pieces of information. This celebration was attacked. He provided inside directions. Personnel list. Even the supply channels for alcoholic beverages were arranged in advance. After hearing this, I became even more vigilant. A person hid for 17 years. This shows that the Blue Tide Empire had been preparing for this for some time. This was not a simple attack. It was an operation that had been planned for many years. A few days later, the Empire released the results of its investigation. The Blue Tide Empire launched a surprise attack without any justification. Tanya officially entered a state of war alert. The merchants on the street began to panic. Many people started snapping up supplies. The price of magical materials is rising rapidly. Especially beast crystal, food, metal, medicine, protective gear materials. These things are all starting to go up in price. I'm watching the market changes. I quickly made a judgment in my mind. The first impact of war. It's not a battlefield. Rather, it's resources. If the war continues, even basic necessities are in short supply. Those who prepare in advance will have a huge advantage. I returned to the villa. Find Della. How much funding do you have now? She opened the ledger. The previous mission rewards, plus the remaining funds from the Space Mages transactions. Currently, it's about 300,000 gold coins. I took out 280,000 gold coins. Place it on the table. All in. Della was taken aback. What to buy? Strategic materials, crystal nucleus, food, metal, medicinal herbs. She did not act immediately. Instead, the question is, what if war hadn't broken out? I looked at her. The price will not be affected. These are all necessities. It's just a matter of how much profit. Della understood. She began to carry it out. But she did not make large-scale purchases. Instead, it uses decentralized channels, different cities, different chambers of commerce, different times. Acquire them little by little, to avoid attracting attention. This is also her greatest ability. Cautious. Stabilize. 3 days. The market has completely changed. The panic caused by the blue tide attack is spreading. Many people began buying resources at high prices, and the supplies we stockpiled in advance. Its value continues to rise. Day 5. Della placed the ledger in front of me. Mr. Lin Mo? All supplies have been sold. Total revenue. She paused for a moment. 214,000 gold coins. I looked at the numbers. There were no major fluctuations. Because I know. Wealth is just a tool. What really matters is, this money can support my research. That evening, I did not continue my research on puppets. Instead, he went to the Rose mercenary group. Lucy looked somewhat surprised when she saw me. Why are you here? I didn't exchange pleasantries. Tell her everything that happened at Moonshadow Lake. After she finished listening, there was a long silence. So war has really broken out. I nodded. It won't end anytime soon. Lucy frowned. What should the mercenary group do? I said. Stockpile essential goods. Sell non-essential equipment. Reduce high-risk tasks. Harlan sat next to him. I couldn't help but say, when other people encounter this kind of situation, they think about how to make money. But you were the first to think of reminding us. I smiled. Because we've worked together before. You are alive. Only my resources have value. Lucy looked at me. His expression was somewhat complicated. Lin Mo. Do you know? Many powerful people only care about their own interests. You don't seem like it. I didn't respond. Because I just feel that way. In this unfamiliar world, what is truly reliable? It's not a gold coin. Rather, it is the relationships established between people. After leaving the Rose mercenary group, I threw myself back into puppet research. This time, the goal is higher. Before, I want to create a more powerful combat puppet. Now, I want to solve a problem. Why must the puppet disappear? If the magic cycle can continue, if the core structure can repair itself. So, can a puppet exist indefinitely? This is a problem that no puppeteer has been able to solve. That's also the direction I really want to break through. In the underground laboratory, a new puppet core is forming. I join the space crystal core fragment. Adjust the element cycle. Optimize mental connection. Fail. Restart. Fail. Continue making adjustments. 1 month later. The first improved core is finally complete. Test begins. 1 day. 2 days. 3 days. 4 days. Day 5. The puppet continued to function. I looked at the data on the recording crystal. For the first time, a feeling arose in my heart. Perhaps, this is the true age of puppets in the world. It will start with me. But, I have no idea. Far away in the Blue Tide Empire, Brick has also regrouped his forces. He looked at the intelligence report in his hand. There is only one sentence above. Lin Mo, the balanced puppet master. It must be eliminated. A new storm. Approaching. And me. We are already prepared to welcome it. The Blue Tide Empire acted faster than I expected. 2 months after the Moonshadow Lake incident, the Tanya Empire appeared to have returned to order. The shops have reopened. The streets are bustling again. The Mage Tower has reopened. But everyone knows. The shadow of war is already looming overhead. I haven't stopped preparing either. In the underground training ground, rows of puppets stood in neat rows. Combat type. Reconnaissance type. Engineering type. Therapeutic. Each puppet underwent dozens of adjustments. Della stood to the side, watching the number of puppets increase. Mr. Lin Mo, have you prepared an army? I smiled. Strictly speaking, it is an army that has not yet taken shape. She looked at the puppets. Ordinary armies need soldiers. Your army needs materials. I nodded. Therefore, resources are very important. These days, I have established a long-term partnership with the Bindler Chamber of Commerce. He was in charge of finding rare materials. I am responsible for providing special magical products. The first batch of civilian puppets caused a sensation as soon as they were launched. The fire golem can stably control the temperature. Ordinary families do not need to buy large amounts of fuel in winter. Small engineering puppets are capable of carrying goods. Businessmen have significantly reduced labor costs. The water purification puppet can treat sewage. The efficiency of urban management has been greatly improved. In just 1 month, my name began to spread from the circle of monks to the general public. Many people call me the one who changes magical life. But I know, these are just the beginning. What truly determines the future? It's still war. One evening, the Wind Sparrow suddenly sent back an unusual message. West of the capital, An unfamiliar magical fluctuation was detected. I immediately stopped the experiment. Della, close all exits of the villa. She did in panic. Execute immediately. She is no longer the quiet girl she was when she first arrived at the villa. She learned management. I learned to judge danger. They even began to build their own intelligence network. Soon, the birds sent back a video. 5 men dressed in black were hiding in the woods. They did not approach, just observing. I frowned. The way these people act, completely different from the previous spies. Be more cautious. It is also more professional. I did not take the initiative. Instead, it released an ordinary wind sparrow puppet. Let it be deliberately exposed. Really, the man in black immediately gave chase. I followed their route. The hidden stronghold was locked in reverse. The next day, I told Basak the news. After the old man listened, his face was grave. The remnants of the Blue Tide Empire are still within the Empire. I nodded, and they have changed their approach. It used to be about gathering intelligence. We are now preparing for action. Basak remained silent. He then said, Linemo, I want you to join the Imperial Wartime Mage system. Your abilities are extremely important. I knew this day would come. Therefore, I did not directly refuse. I can help, but there are conditions. Basak looked at me. Explain. Wartime support. It's not a permanent membership. I will not accept any orders that restrict my freedom. The old man looked at me. Much later, he nodded slowly. I agree. This time, the two sides reached a genuine cooperation agreement. I will not become a tool of the Empire, but in times of crisis, I will stand by Tanya's side. A few days later, the Rose mercenary group also began to expand, using the resources she had prepared in advance. Lucy recruited a large number of excellent mercenaries. She told me, many mercenary groups are currently short of materials, only if we prepare in advance. Therefore, the development speed is the fastest. I laughed and said, it seems your judgment was correct. Lucy looked at me. That's not my judgment. It was your reminder. She paused for a moment. Linemo, have you ever thought about it? What would you be like if you hadn't come to Tanya? This question left me speechless, because even I don't know. My past is gone. That jade ornament. It's still hanging on my chest. I have studied it countless times, but they never discovered the secret. But recently, it began to change. Whenever I create a high-level golem, jade ornaments will generate a slight temperature. It's as if it's responding to some kind of force. I didn't tell anyone, because I feel that way. This jade ornament hides a secret even greater than the puppet. Night. Back at the villa, I took out the jade ornament. This is my first attempt at inputting mental energy. The next moment, an unfamiliar voice echoed in my mind. Elemental fusion detected. Conditions for the evolution of the puppet core have been activated. I was completely stunned. System? I haven't felt this kind of thing in a long time. 7 days after time travel. I've always believed that I simply possess a special talent. But now, this voice tells me, my body, my jade ornaments. Perhaps there is a deeper secret hidden within. Immediately afterwards, a message appeared. Current stage. Basic puppet optimization system. It can improve manufacturing efficiency. It can analyze material properties. I looked at the information in front of me. This is the first time I've understood. Why are my puppets able to transcend the norm? It wasn't just luck. Rather, it's because I possess a power that has never existed in this world before. The next day, I began testing the system's capabilities. Materials that previously required several days to analyze. Now all that's needed is mental contact. This will allow you to obtain detailed data, animal crystal structure, element ratio, energy loss. Everything is clearly displayed. My research speed began to increase dramatically. In just half a month, the core of the 5th generation puppet is complete. Duration of existence: more than 7 days. Enhanced self-repair capabilities. The distance to a truly permanent puppet. Getting closer and closer. But just as I was preparing to continue my research, the Wind Sparrow sent back an urgent message. Northern border. A large number of Blue Tide troops were mobilized, and among them, a familiar name appeared. Brick. He is still alive, and it is carrying new strength, heading towards Tanya. I looked into the distance. Grip the puppet core tightly in your hand. Finally, the real showdown. It's about to begin. Brick is back. When this news reached the Tanya Empire, the entire High Command was on edge, because everyone knows it. The disaster at Moonshadow Lake was just a test. The real war has only just begun. The Mage Tower held an emergency meeting. The royal family, Legion, the Mage Guild, large chamber of commerce. All representatives were sent. I was also sitting in the conference room. Basak looked at the map on the table. According to intelligence, the Blue Tide Empire is mobilizing a large number of mages and knights. Their target is very likely the capital. A Legion commander frowned. They just suffered a defeat. Why do they dare to launch another attack? Basak said in a deep voice. Because they believe we have lost a large number of high-ranking mages. And they knew that the longer the war dragged on, the greater the losses for Tanya. I looked at the route on the map. I suddenly realized the problem. They won't attack the capital directly. Everyone looked at me. The general asked. Why? I pointed north. If I were the enemy, I won't choose the toughest part. I will cut off the resources first. The meeting room fell silent. I continued. Food, magic materials, transportation routes. These are the true foundations of war. Basak's eyes lit up. You mean they'll attack the supply lines? I nodded. And they will use small groups of skilled attackers. It forces us to disperse our resources. This analysis has led many people to see me in a new light. They used to think so. I am a powerful puppeteer, specializes in creating unique puppets. But now, they are beginning to realize it. My truly terrifying place. It's a way of thinking. After the meeting, Basak left me alone. Linemo, are you willing to take charge of the defense of the capital? I shook my head. I'm better suited to taking the initiative. The old man looked at me. What you up to? I opened the spatial ring. It contains a large number of puppet seeds. Establish a reconnaissance network. Detect the enemy in advance. Then deal with them. Basak remained silent for a moment. Then he laughed. You are indeed unlike an ordinary mage. The days that followed, the capital city has entered a state of war preparedness, and I began to truly realize the value of the puppet system. The first batch. The Wind Sparrow Reconnaissance Network. Hundreds of Wind Sparrow puppets were released. They flew in different directions. Observe the road. Record magical fluctuations. Search for suspicious individuals. The second batch. Engineering puppet. They were responsible for reinforcing the city walls. Repair defensive facilities. Transporting war supplies. The third batch. Combat puppet. Hidden in various important areas. Ready to start at any time. In just half a month, the defensive capabilities of the entire capital city have been greatly enhanced. Many soldiers were seeing this method for the first time. A young knight watched the earthen golems carrying giant stones. I couldn't help but say, in the past, wars required a large number of workers. These things can now accomplish in a day what used to take dozens of days. The person next to him laughed. The status of puppeteers is likely to change in the future. I didn't react much when I heard those words, because my goal has never been to change an industry. Rather, it's about finding the true limits of power. In the laboratory, the system kept sending out new analysis results. Element loop optimization complete, core stability improved, enhanced self-repair capabilities, permanent puppet research progress increased. These tips allowed me to accelerate my research. But the closer you get to your goal, the difficulties also become more apparent. A truly permanent puppet. 3 problems need to be solved. Energy, core, soul connection. I already have a direction for the first 2, the third one. But there has never been an answer. Why can a puppet only accept commands? Why can't we truly think independently? This is the problem. Even the system cannot solve this directly. One evening, I examined the jade ornament on my chest again. This time, the jade ornaments finally began to change. A ray of light emerged from it. My consciousness was pulled into an unfamiliar space. There is no sky there. There is no land. Only countless complex runes. An ancient voice rang out. Elemental puppet inheritance activated. I was stunned. Inheritance? There was no response. A flood of information entered my mind. About puppets. About elements. Regarding spiritual connection. The most important part of it. It shocked me. A true puppeteer. It is not about creating lifeless tools. Instead, it creates elemental life forms that can resonate with their master. This moment, I finally understand. I'd been going in the wrong direction all along. I've always thought of puppets as machines. Therefore, the structure is continuously optimized. Optimize energy use. Optimize materials. But a puppet of this world, essentially, it is an existence that exists between life and magic. It's not just about technology. There are also connections. The next day, I started trying new manufacturing methods. Join the core spirit. Adjust the element circuit. Change the traditional structure. The first new core has been completed. Test begins. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, 10 days. The puppet remained stable, and it responded to my command on its own for the first time. It is not mechanical execution. Rather, it's about understanding. I looked at the flaming humanoid puppet in front of me. An idea popped into my head. Perhaps a true, permanent puppet. It's not far from me now. However, at that very moment, the wind bird brought an urgent message. Northern border. The Blue Tide Legion has officially crossed the border. The vanguard has entered Tanya's territory, and the leader. It was Brick. He came with hatred. This time, he no longer hides it. His goal. It was to completely destroy the Tanya Empire. I put away the new core. Look out the window. War. It has finally begun in full swing. On the 7th day after the Blue Tide Legion crossed the border, the Tanya Empire officially entered a state of total war. Battle reports continued to arrive from border cities. 3 small outposts were attacked. 2 transport routes were disrupted. Several caravans responsible for transporting magical materials have lost contact. Unlike the large-scale wars of the past, Lan Tide did not put all her strength into it at the beginning. They are more like a venomous snake lurking in the darkness, continuously seek out weaknesses, to keep creating chaos. And the person in charge of all of this, it was Brick. Inside the conference room of the Mage Tower, everyone was staring at the map. A Legion commander said in a deep voice, "If this continues, the rear of the Empire will become increasingly chaotic. We must take the initiative." Bassick looked at me. "Linemo, what do you think?" I looked at the red markers on the map. The locations of these attacks appear to be scattered, but if they are connected, however, it formed a route. I picked up the pen. A line was drawn on the map. Their real target is not these cities. Everyone looked at me. "What is that?" I pointed to the central area. Mage Tower. The meeting room fell silent. "These attacks are intended to force us to mobilize our forces, distract everyone. Finally, take advantage of the weakened defenses to attack the Mage Tower." Bassick's expression changed. "Because it contains a large number of magical texts from the Tanya Empire. It is also the foundation of the Imperial magic system. Once the Mage Tower is destroyed, it's not just the buildings that have been lost. It is a magical tradition spanning hundreds of years. Immediately strengthen the defenses of the Mage Tower." Bassick gave the order. Then he looked at me. "Are you willing to take charge of peripheral reconnaissance?" I nodded. "Can. This time, I want to bring the puppets onto the real stage of war." Back at the villa, I opened the spatial ring. It contains a large number of puppet seeds. These were all manufactured in the past few months. Before, I concealed my true strength, because there was no sufficient reason to expose it. Now, the war has begun. Hiding it will only lead to more deaths. The first batch. Wind Sparrow Puppet. Release all. Hundreds of birds soared into the sky. They cover an area of tens of kilometers around the capital. Any unusual magical fluctuations, they will all be sent back immediately. The second batch. Geotechnical Engineering Puppet. Head to the city wall area. Repair the defenses. Strengthen fortifications. The third batch. Combat Puppet. All are now on standby. When Lucy arrived at the villa with the Rose mercenary group, observe the number of puppets in the yard. For the first time, he showed a shocked expression. "Linemo, how much have you actually prepared?" I looked at the neatly arranged puppets. "Not enough." Lucy remained silent. She knew, if these things were deployed to the battlefield, it will completely change the way wars are fought. Harlan was touching a Wind Sparrow puppet. "We used to be mercenaries doing reconnaissance. We need to send people to risk their lives. Now," he looked up at the sky, "we can even see the enemy's shadow in advance." Tangshi stood to the side. He said seriously, "This kind of power should belong to the war system." I shook my head. "It is protected." Everyone was looking at me. I continued, "If the war ends, these puppets can help ordinary people. Road construction, building a house, transportation, treat. The meaning of power is not just about killing." Lucy looked at me. He said softly, "Haven't you always thought this way?" I nodded, "At least for now." 3 days later, the bird noticed something amiss. Northwest of the capital, a large amount of magical energy fluctuations appeared. The quantity exceeded expectations. "The enemy is coming." I immediately notified Bassick. The Imperial Knights quickly assembled. The Wizard Tower activates its defenses. The Rose Mercenary Group is responsible for providing peripheral support. That night, the entire capital city was brightly lit. Everyone knows. The real war has begun. Early morning. Dark clouds appeared in the sky. A large number of blue tide mages are hiding there. They were preparing to break through from the air, but they had just entered the range of the Wind Sparrow's reconnaissance. An alarm was immediately sounded. I stood on the city wall, looking at the sky in the distance. Start. The next second, dozens of wind-type flying golems took off. They are not intended to attack. It's interference. Not interference. Change the airflow. Disrupt the enemy's flight formation. The Blue Tide Air Force experienced its first period of chaos. Immediately afterwards, the Flame Golem is activated. A barrage of fireballs streaked across the night sky. This forced the enemy to change course. Just as they were preparing to force their way through, the ground began to shake. A large number of rock and earth golems rose up from under the city walls to form a second line of defense. The enemy vanguard finally realized what they faced. It is no longer the Tanya of the past. It is a completely new way of waging war. A blue-haired mage roared, "Find that puppeteer! Kill him first!" Far away, a dark shadow descended from the sky. A terrifying magical power spread instantly. Everyone's expression changed. Brick. It reappeared. He stood in midair, looking at me on the city wall. "Linemo, I let you live last time. It was my mistake. This time, I will destroy you with my own hands." I looked at him. There was no anger. He simply took out a puppet core. "You should have understood this sooner. What I'm best at. It's not a battle. It is creation." The words fell. Behind the city wall, a gigantic figure slowly rose to its feet. A brand new elemental combat golem. It was the first time she appeared in front of everyone. It has a rock-like body, the core of the flowing flames. The element of wind surrounds, water-based shield coverage. All four elements operate simultaneously. Brick's expression changed for the first time. "What's this?" I look at my work. Puppet of the new era. The next moment, the war broke out in full force. The moment the elemental combat golems appeared, the entire battlefield fell silent for a brief second. Whether they were Tanya soldiers, it was still Master Lanchi. All eyes were on it, because this was completely beyond their understanding of puppets. Traditional puppets require advanced preparation. It needs to be in a fixed location. It requires continuous control by a mage. And this puppet in front of me, it has a complete element cycle. It is capable of fighting independently. It can adjust its actions according to changes in the battlefield. It's more like a real warrior. Brick stared at it. His eyes showed seriousness for the first time. This kind of thing. It should absolutely not exist. I stood on the city wall. He said calmly, "Existence or non-existence. It's not up to you to decide." Brick sneered. "A puppeteer dares to challenge a level 9 mage?" He raised his hand. The sky darkened instantly. A large amount of ice element began to gather. The ambient air temperature dropped rapidly. This scene? It reminds me of Moon Shadow Lake. At that time, I can only defend. We can only try our best to save lives. But now, the situation is completely different now. Behind me, it has the entire empire. There is a mage tower. There was a knightly order. There is also a puppet army that has been prepared for months. Activate the first combat sequence. My voice trailed off. Hundreds of birds took to the air at the same time. They did not attack. Instead, it releases a special wind field. The Blue Tide Mage, who was originally preparing to unleash a large-scale spell, was completely affected. Their chanting rhythm was interrupted. The flow of magic began to become disordered. This is the result of my long-term research. Puppets don't necessarily need to be attacked directly. Control the pace of the battlefield. It is also a kind of power. On the other side, the Rock Rhinoceros Guardians charged into the enemy knights' ranks. Its heavy body is like a mobile fortress. The Blue Tide Knight's spear pierced its body. Only faint traces can be left. The centipede-like golem travels underground, continuously disrupt the enemy's formation. The shadow skeleton lurks in the darkness. Find weaknesses in the enemy's defenses. The Holy Light Sparrow followed Tanya's soldiers. Continued to recover from the injury. For the first time, a strange phenomenon emerged during the war. A puppet army without life. They are protecting people with lives. Brick watched all of this. His complexion grew increasingly grim. He finally understood the reasons for the failure of Moon Shadow Lake. It's not because they were unprepared. Rather, it's because they underestimated me. Linmo! Brick's voice was icy. You think you can change the course of war with these things? I looked at him. At least it can change today. The next moment, the elemental battle golem soared into the sky. It has no wings. However, it uses the wind element to alter gravity. He leaped into the air in an instant. The fiery fist slammed directly at Brick. Brick quickly dodged. An ice wall condensed in front of him. Boom! The ice wall shattered. His body was thrown back dozens of meters. Everyone on the city wall was stunned. A level 9 mage. The first time I was forced to retreat by the puppet. Becasue looked at the sky. He murmured, "This is no longer an ordinary puppet. This is a new power system." Brick steadied himself. His eyes were gloomy. He did not continue to entangle with the puppet. Instead, it charged straight at me. To catch the thief, first catch the king. This is a truth that all fighters know. He was extremely fast. The physical enhancements of a level 9 mage allowed him to break through the defenses instantly. The surrounding knights were completely unable to stop them. He was less than 10 meters away from me. A black figure blocked their path. Shadow Guardian puppet. Brick struck out with a palm. Dark forces clash. The Shadow Guardian instantly developed cracks. But it did not fall. Instead, she grabbed Brick's arm. This is a close-range defensive puppet that I designed specifically for this purpose. It's to prevent a surprise attack from a stronger opponent. Brick broke free of his restraints. His face looked even worse. You actually prepared such a puppet? I did not answer. Because of the battle. Explanation is meaningless. Just as the two sides were at an impasse, news came from afar. The Blue Tide Vanguard began its retreat. Their original plan was to break through the capital's defenses, destroy the Mage Tower quickly, but now, they suffered heavy losses. Continuing the fight is pointless. Brick also realized something was wrong. He glanced at the battlefield. Ultimately, they chose to evacuate. Linemo, next time, I will bring back true power. He finished speaking. His body turned into ice mist, disappeared into the sky. The Tanya soldiers erupted in cheers. The first direct confrontation. The Empire triumphs. But I didn't relax. Because I know. Brick did not fail. He simply went back into hiding. A war does not end with a single defeat. After returning to the villa, I began to examine the puppet's damage. This battle. It made me discover a lot of problems. Elemental combat golems are powerful. However, the energy consumption is too high. Insufficient duration. Facing a truly large-scale war, it still needs optimization. The system also provided new prompts. Combat data analysis complete. Identifying the core defect. Suggested optimization direction. Element fusion loop. I looked at the prompt. Lost in thought. Before, what I'm looking for is a stronger attack. Stronger defense. But now, what I need is consistency. Only puppets that can exist for a long time. Only then can we truly change the world. Just as I was preparing to continue the experiment, Della walked in with a letter in her hand. Mr. Linemo, this was just received. I took the letter. There were only a few words on it. Deep in the Black Forest. Ancient puppet ruins discovered. Signature. He is a person who has disappeared for many years. My gaze lingered on the last one. There was a name written there. The first generation of elemental puppeteers. I gripped the letter tightly. A premonition arose in my mind. My path. Perhaps people have been walking by all along. And that answer. It's in Hessen. The news about the Hessian ruins completely changed my original plans. Over the past few months, I have always studied puppets based on my own understanding. Utilize modern engineering thinking. Optimize the structure. Adjust the energy cycle. To find a way to make it permanent. But that letter told me, in this world, perhaps someone has come close to this answer. The first generation of elemental puppeteers. This name carries immense significance. If we can find his remains, maybe I can know. Why has the puppetry technique in this world remained at its current level? Why are there so few powerful puppeteers? More importantly, the jade ornament on my chest. It is very likely that this is also related to this tradition. I told Becasue the news. The old man remained silent for a long time. Hessen. No one has ventured deep into that area for hundreds of years. I asked. Why? He looked out the window. Because there are not only magical beasts there, and there are also dangerous magic left over from ancient times. Many exploration teams went in afterward. Never came back. I did not take immediate action. The greater the danger, the better. The greater the hidden value, the higher the potential value. However, there was insufficient preparation. They'll only get themselves killed. The next 2 weeks, I started adjusting my equipment. Inside the spatial ring, store a large number of combat golems, restoration-type puppet, reconnaissance puppet, engineering-type puppet. Everything needs to be rechecked. Della was in charge of organizing the supplies. She looked at the increasing amount of equipment. I couldn't help but say, Mr. Linemo, do you always do this when you go out? Are they all preparing for war? I smiled. Because you never know what you'll encounter next. She nodded gently. Della is now a complete part of my life. She manages the villa, management of Chamber of Commerce Corporation. They were even responsible for organizing my experimental records. Many times, all I need to do is tell her an idea. She can then prepare what she needs in advance. The day before departure, Lucy led the Rose mercenary group to the villa. I heard you're going to Hessen? I nodded. She frowned. That's not a normal mission area. Do you know how dangerous it is? No. Still going? I looked at the old map in my hand. Because the answer I'm looking for might be there. Lucy remained silent. He then said, Let's go together. I was stunned for a moment. This is not a mercenary mission. I know. She looked at me. But you've helped us many times. You are now in danger. We will not stand by. Harlan smiled and patted me on the shoulder. Young people, don't try to shoulder everything yourself. Tangshi also said. One more person means one more source of strength. I did not refuse. The next day, we're officially setting off. The team is not large, but everyone involved is an elite. The giant wind turtle was in charge of traveling. The wind sparrow puppet conducts advanced reconnaissance. Along the way, we avoided many dangerous areas. After entering the outer perimeter of Hessen, the environment began to change. The concentration of magic here is clearly abnormal. Ordinary plants are all affected by elements. Some vines will even actively attack creatures that get close. Day 1. We encountered 3 level 5 monsters. If it's a regular mercenary group, it will likely come at a huge cost. But now, the fighting style is completely different now. The rock rhinoceros guardians are responsible for frontal defense. The fire golem launches an attack. The holy light sparrow is responsible for healing. Less than half an hour, all 3-headed monsters fell. Lucy looked at the battlefield. He exclaimed, In the past, we worked tirelessly to complete our missions. It feels like I'm leading an army. I said, Puppets are just tools. What truly determines the outcome? Or it's the people who use it. Let's delve deeper. The 3rd day, the wind sparrow suddenly reported an anomaly. A valley lies ahead. A huge magical fluctuation was detected. I immediately ordered everyone to stop advancing. There's something there. Harlan asked. Warcraft? I shook my head. No. It looks like some kind of ancient magical device. We slowly approached. In the middle of the valley, a stone gate covered in vines appeared. On the stone gate, it is engraved with intricate patterns. The instant I got close, the jade ornament on my chest suddenly became hot. A beam of light fell on the stone gate. Click. A mechanism that has been dormant for hundreds of years. Startup begins. Everyone held their breath. The stone gate slowly opened. There are no gold coins inside. There were no weapons. There is only one enormous puppet core, and a skeleton sitting on a stone platform. Next to the bones, leave behind a crystal for recording. I reached out and touched it. An aged voice rang out. The latecomers. If you can open this, this means you possess the talent of elemental balance. My breath caught in my throat for a moment, because of this sentence. That matches my situation perfectly. The way of the puppet. It was never about control. It's about connection. A true puppeteer. What we created was not weapons. They are partners. My gaze fell upon the massive core. The next sentence. It completely shocked me. I want to create a permanent puppet. We must find our own elemental core. And your jade ornaments. It is the key to unlocking the core. Everyone looked at me. Lucy asked in a low voice. Linemo, you knew all along? I shook my head. No. This is the first time. The recording crystal continues playing. The Blue Tide Empire has been searching for the elemental core for many years. They want to use it to manufacture weapons of war. If anyone sees this, this indicates that a new disaster has begun. My expression gradually turned serious. Because I understand. This is not just a simple relic. It is a secret that has been hidden for hundreds of years. And the Blue Tide Empire. It's very likely that they'd been looking for something related to me. Just then, deep in the Black Forest, suddenly, a huge tremor occurred. The ground cracked. A terrifying aura awakened. A system prompt also appeared. Discover the guardians of ancient elements. Unknown core detected. Conditions for permanent puppet upgrade unlocked. I looked at the enormous figure in the darkness. Grip the puppet core tightly in your hand. It seems so. I want to get the answer. They still need to pass the test first. The Blue Tide Empire's final attack was more ferocious than anyone had anticipated. 3 days after I returned to the capital of Tanya with the ancient elemental core from the Black Forest ruins, the Wind Sparrow puppet sent word. Brick led the remaining forces of the Blue Tide Empire to break through the northern defense line. This time, he did not test him. There was no hiding. Hundreds of griffins appeared in the sky. On the ground are the elite knights of Blue Tide. There were also a large number of high-level mages behind them. They have only one goal: completely destroy the core strength of the Tanya Empire. Top of the Mage Tower, Bassick looked at the dark mass of enemy troops in the distance. This battle will determine the future of both countries. I stood to the side. He held the newly completed elemental core in his hand. This battle will also determine the future of the puppeteers. All preparations have finally come to an end, and it's time to put them to the test. Past. The puppet is merely an auxiliary tool. It can only be controlled by its owner. It can only exist for a short time. But today, I want the whole continent to see this. What is a true elemental golem? The battlefield has begun. Blue Tide Mage unleashes a wide-range attack. The sky was covered in magical light. Just as they were preparing to break through the defenses, countless Wind Sparrow puppets took to the sky. They form a huge wind network, change the airflow, disrupt the enemy's spell trajectory. Immediately afterwards, the ground shook. One puppet after another emerged from behind the city wall. Rock Giant, Flame Warrior, Shadow Guard, Holy Light Spirit Bird, and in the very center is the Elemental Life Puppet. It has no name, because it doesn't represent a single work. It is an era. It possesses the solidity of rock, the power of fire, the restoration of the water flow, the speed of the wind, the balance between light and darkness. When it appears, everyone understands. The era of puppets. It has truly begun. Brick stood in the sky. His face was icy cold. Linemo, you think creating a few puppets can change the course of the war? I looked at him. Not just a few. It's a new possibility. Brick roared. Kill him. Lon Tide, a master, rushed over at the same time. Level 9 martial artist. High-ranking mage. Lock me in completely. But the next moment, elemental life puppets blocked the way. It did not dodge. They did not retreat. He simply reached out his hand. Elemental shield deploys. All attacks were blocked. Brick finally showed his shock. That's impossible, I said calmly. You've always wanted to obtain ancient power, but all they wanted to do was turn it into a tool of war. So you can never truly master it. Brick remained silent, because he knew. I was right. The core legacy of ancient puppetry was never about creating war machines. Instead, it creates guardians. The battle lasted all day. Lanshi's army continued to retreat, their magic circle, which they are very proud of. They were cracked one by the engineering puppets. Their knights charged. They were blocked by the rock rhinoceros guardians. Their monks chanted. It was interrupted by the Wind Sparrow. For the first time, they faced a form of warfare they could not comprehend. As night falls, Lanshi's last line of defense collapsed. Only Brick remained. He floated in the sky. His aura had weakened. Linemo, if only I had killed you back then, would everything be different? I looked at him. Won't. Because you didn't lose because of your strength. It was the path you chose. Brick didn't say anything more. He gathered his last bit of magic, preparing to unleash a forbidden technique. But this time, I did not wait. The elemental life puppet shot straight into the sky. All 4 elements erupted simultaneously. Brick's icy domain was gradually disintegrating. Final. His magic was exhausted. It fell from the sky. The last hope of the Blue Tide Empire. It's completely over. 6 months after the war ended, the Tanya Empire has restored order. The royal family bestowed upon me the highest honor, but I refused all positions of power. I only accepted a magic workshop that belonged to me. That place became the first research center for elemental puppets on the mainland. Countless young people come here to study. Puppets are no longer just tools of combat. They enter the lives of ordinary people, help farmers with farming, to help merchants with transportation, to assist in urban development, magic and machinery. Finally, they merged in this world. Bindler's Chamber of Commerce became the largest magical business group on the continent. Lucy led the Rose Mercenary Group to become the most respected guardian force in the empire. She would occasionally come to my workshop, Looking at those new puppets, he said with a smile. You said back then that puppets were just tools. Why are they starting to look more and more like partners? I looked at the elemental golems working in the distance, he said, because what truly matters is never power. It's not about what the person who creates power wants to do with it. Della is still in charge of managing my life. Just now, she is no longer the lonely little girl she once was. She owns her own business, your own team. They also have the ability to choose their future. One evening, I took out the jade ornament again. I've been in this world for so long. I finally know its secret. It is not a weapon. It's not a treasure either. It is a key to inheritance. It connects two worlds. My time travel was not accidental. The power left behind by the ancient elemental puppeteers seeks someone who can understand the knowledge of another world. Mechanical, magic, create. These things can naturally be integrated. The jade ornament lit up for the last time. A message appeared. The inheritance is complete. A new era has begun. I laughed. Arriving in this unfamiliar world, I have lost my past, but they gained a new future. From an amnesiac who wandered to the riverbank, the only fully balanced puppet master in mainland China, I possess wealth. Having partners, it possesses everything it protects. And my story, it also became a legend in the mouths of countless puppeteers later on. They said, the person who changed the continent. He was once just an ordinary person who woke up by the river. They don't know. Truly changing the world. It is never the strength of one person. Rather, it is about a person always maintaining a creative spirit.